This is me. This is the Ice Spikes only biome. This is where I will be surviving 100 days in hardcore Minecraft. I have 3 main goals. Goal 1, defeat the Ender Dragon. Goal 2, defeat the Wither. And goal 3, get a full set of netherite armor. Alright, let's go. Trees don't spawn in the ice spikes, and I need to find wood, so the only way I'm gonna find wood is by searching cave openings looking for a mine shaft. Yes, let's go! It actually took me at least 10 deaths in different worlds before I found this world that had a mine shaft close to spawn. Now I could make a crafting table and all the initial tools I need. I also gathered some spider's webs so that I could make some wool to make a bed, and then I could sleep through the night. Now my goal for day 1 is to build a starter base and get some type of food source lined up. Food's real hard to come by in the ice spikes, and in hardcore Minecraft you can actually die from starvation. So I got some snow blocks together so that I could build a little bit of an igloo kind of thing that would also work as an ice fishing hut. Fishing indoors is much slower, but I needed a 5x5 area of melted water so that I'd be able to get treasure loot, and it's the only way I was able to fish for treasure loot right now. The first book I got was kind of trash, but I kept fishing, and then I caught another book, and this one had lore 2 on it, which would make fishing much quicker. And then I caught a bow, and the bow had infinity and power 4 on it, which is a really good enchantment. Now I needed an anvil so that I could repair that bow, and also I could put the enchanted book onto my fishing rod. I spent all of day 3 mining iron down in the mines. Luckily the mine shaft was at Y level 15, and it had a level on Y level 15, and that's the best level to mine iron at. So I got my iron smelted, and then I made an anvil so that I could put lore 2 onto my fishing rod, and that would be a huge improvement. It's probably still not as fast as being able to fish outdoors in a non-frozen world, but it's kind of the best that I can do for now. I used the iron that I had left over to make a little bit of armor and also an iron pick, and then I wanted to repair the durability on my bow and also my fishing rod. I wanted to test out my new bow, so I went running around that night, and this first zombie really didn't stand a chance. Doing a bit of fishing on day 5, and I caught another enchanted book, and this book had efficiency 4 on it. So now I need to get some diamonds so that I can make a diamond pick, because I want to put efficiency 4 on it. I found a minecart chest which had a golden apple and some glowberries. This could have been the end of my 100 days right there, but luckily I got reflexes like a cat. Found my first diamond, but unfortunately it was just that, a single diamond. But then I found some more diamonds, and it was larger than just a single diamond, so I was able to make a diamond pickaxe finally. I put efficiency 4 onto my pickaxe, and this is a pretty huge thing to have on day 8. A zombie picked a fight with me when I was on my way down to the mines, and he dropped a carrot when he died. I heard a witch giggling, so I used my subtitles to figure out the right direction to dig down to, and I found a little cavern with a witch, and so I shot her with a couple arrows, and luckily she dropped some sugar. Sugar was one thing I was worried about trying to get, because it's difficult to get in the ice spikes, so finding it on day 9 is a pretty big deal. And then I spent the rest of the day mining diamonds. I wanted to get enough diamonds for some armor, but I also had to keep at least 3 so that I'd be able to repair the durability on my pickaxe, because I couldn't let it just break because it had efficiency 4 on it. But by the end of the day, I got almost full diamond armor. I wanted to go to the nether, so I got some obsidian made, and then I mined up enough pieces to make a nether portal. I made a golden helmet so that the piglins wouldn't attack me while I was in the nether. I was really hoping and praying for a good spawn when I went through the portal, but somehow my message got messed up because this is not what I meant at all. I got spawned directly in the middle of a hoglin stable. Hoglin stables are literally the worst possible bastion and extremely dangerous for early game, but I got some ancient debris out of the first chest, so at least there's that. I traded all my gold to a piglin, and I didn't get any of the trades I wanted, so I had to go into the bastion to raid some of the chests so that I could get some gold blocks, and then I could do some more trades with the piglin. Eventually, though, I got a fire resistance potion, and that's what I needed. I went exploring some to get some more gold and hopefully find a fortress. I found another bastion, and then I went around to the other side of it to see what type of bastion it was, and I saw that there was a fortress, so I went up into the fortress trying to find a blaze spawner, which I found. I drank some fire res and then started killing blazes, hoping to get a lot of blaze rods. I got 10 blaze rods before I ran out of fire res and grabbed a brown mushroom on my way back. I set up an indoor carrot farm on day 12 and then headed back down to the mine shaft because I needed some deep slate. Got a golden apple from a chest and found a lot of diamonds. I needed a whole lot of deep slate for making a mob grinder, and I was also finding a ton of diamonds, so that's pretty good. I was also going to need a whole lot of wood, so I headed back into the nether so I could chop some crimson logs and get enough wood together for the mob grinder. Shroom lights melt enough ice to where I was able to set up a 5x5 fishing area outdoors, and that way I can fish much quicker and I still have a chance of getting treasure loot from fishing. I was going to need a lot of carpets for my mob grinder, so I headed back down to the mine shaft so that I could get some spider webs and then I could turn them into wool. I had to fight off a few cave spiders in the process. I noticed that there was a slime chunk, so I made a note of that in case I was going to need some slime in the future. I still needed a lot of deep slate for my mob grinder, so I had to spend all of day 20 just basically mining for deep slate. I kept finding a whole bunch of veins of diamonds, so I guess I can't really complain. This mob grinder is designed by Waddles. He makes a lot of really good builds. I'll leave a link in the description to his video on how to build it. That was easy enough. Shout out again to Waddles for such a great build. I made a splash potion of weakness so that I'd be prepared for when a zombie villager fell into the mob grinder. We got one later that night, so I shut down the mob farm by using blocks to shut off the chute that they fall down. And then I cleared out the other mobs and set down a boat and let the zombie villager out of the mob farm. He didn't give me any problems, but I wanted at least one more zombie villager, so I waited around, and later that night another one came, so I got him in a boat also. I was able to use one splash potion for both of them, and then I gave each of them a golden apple. And then I just sat around waiting with them until they both turned from zombies back into villagers. I got one of the villagers and got him back to the igloo without much of a hassle. I just used workbenches to guide him and show him the way to go. And then I had to do the same thing with the other villager. He didn't give me any problems either though, and I had both of them safely in the igloo and sleeping by the time the night was over. I wanted to keep one of the villagers as a farmer, so I traded him some carrots. I went back down to the mine shaft that night because I needed to get some more spider webs so that I could make some more beds to make more villagers. On day 31, it was back to fishing. I was trying to get an enchanted book so that I'd be able to disenchant it. I already had 2, I only needed 1 more book, but I didn't get lucky on day 31. On day 32, I caught another fishing rod, and it had mending and lure 2 on it, and I was hoping that I could combine it on my anvil, but I'd repaired my current fishing rod so many times that it made the combination too expensive, so I just used the mending one. Finally, that night, after a lot of fishing, I caught a book that I was going to be able to disenchant because it was trash, so I got 3 books disenchanted. So I was able to use those 3 books so I could make a lectern and then make a librarian villager. I really wanted to get a mending trade along with a bookshelf trade, but I kept resetting his trade, and when he offered me Silk Touch, I decided to just go ahead and take it because that was an enchantment I was going to need anyway. So I made another pickaxe and added Silk Touch to it. And then the villagers, they made another villager. I went back to the nether so I could resupply on my crimson wood, and I was going to make a Fletcher villager, and I'd be able to sell him sticks and get a lot of emeralds. I used my Silk Touch pickaxe so that I could gather some ice blocks, and then I'd be able to use them as a building material. I caught another zombie villager up at the mob farm, and a little while later I caught another one, and I gave them both a splash potion of weakness and golden apples. I wasn't really prepared for them at the base yet, so they were going to just have to hang out in boats at the mob grinder for now. I did a bunch of trades with villagers so that I'd be able to get enough emeralds and then buy enough bookshelves to make a full enchantment table. Starting off, I got some pretty good enchantments, and I decided to spend the next little while up at the mob grinder and get everything I needed enchanted. I was mainly trying to get protection 4 for all of my armor and also fortune 3 on my pickaxe. The other enchantments for other items would just be secondary, so those were the main things I was after right now. I brought one of my zombie villagers back down to the base. I was trying to go down there at least once each day in case a wandering trader showed up. I didn't want to miss the chance of buying some of the stuff I needed. A chicken jockey spawned in my mob farm, so I saved the chicken from the zombie, and I didn't want him to despawn, so I put him in a boat and I brought him back down to the surface. And then I gave him a name tag and named him Turtle. I spent the next couple days just up at the mob grinder, killing mobs and getting my levels up and enchanting all the gear. But I eventually got just about all the enchantments that I was going to need. Hey, Turtle. I made one of my zombie villagers into a toolsmith because he would trade me 1 emerald for 1 piece of iron, and that's a really good trade, so I got him set up, and then I leveled him up and bought a bell because villagers are much happier when they have a bell around. So I got the bell set up, and I could tell they were happier already. I still needed a librarian with a mending trade though, so I brought my other zombie villager down to the igloo. I leveled my farmer villager up to where he'd give me 3 golden carrots for each emerald. And then I decided it was getting crowded in the igloo, so it was time to build another house so that I could split the villagers up between the house. Hey, Turtle. I got the house built, but I was still going to need to put up a wall before it'd be safe to let the villagers out. I finally got my new librarian to sell me a mending book, so I bought a whole lot of mending books and put it on every piece of gear I could. One of his trades after leveling up was Feather Falling 1, so I bought enough of those that I'd be able to combine them for Feather Falling 4, but I didn't have enough levels to combine all the books, so I had to go back up to the mob grinder until I was able to put the book onto my boots. I had forgot to get nether wart when I was at the fortress before, so I had to go back to the fortress and find some nether wart. The fortress was right beside a warped forest, and I needed some ender pearls, so I killed a whole bunch of endermen. The bastion right beside the fortress is a treasure bastion, and it has 2 easily accessible towers. I'm not really prepared yet for the treasure room, but I can raid the towers. That night I made some slow falling potions because that will really help me in the dragon fight. Day 50, I was just checking my gear to make sure I had everything I would need for the fight, and then I threw my first eye and it showed me the direction I needed to go. The entire day was spent just throwing eyes of ender and seeing which direction I'd need to go, and then throwing another eye, but finally that night it told me that I should start digging down, so I started digging my little hole. Luckily I was digging in the right spot, and before I knew it I dug down into the stronghold, so now it was just a matter of finding the portal room. After a while of searching around, I found a library. It didn't have the second level, so it only had 1 chest, but I took all the paper out and decided I'd go back to it later after the dragon fight. I eventually found the portal room and ran in and destroyed the silverfish spawner, and then I set all my eyes into the portal. Luckily I had just the right amount of eyes. I made some fireworks rockets with the paper I had, and then I jumped into the portal. The first thing I always try to do for a dragon fight is pillar up to the crystals that have cages around them and destroy them first, because they're kind of hard to hit with a bow. The dragon sent me flying, but luckily I have the slow falling potion, so it's nothing to worry about. And then I just pillared up really high and took out all the rest of the crystals. If I didn't have slow falling potion, this would be dangerous because the dragon can send you flying sometimes, but he didn't even pay much attention to me that time. After that, it was pretty standard fight. I just waited for him to perch and hit him with my sword from below. I really didn't have any trouble, and it was over before I even knew it. Okay, there it is, day 51. We officially beat the dragon. I guess now we can cross that off of our list of goals. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to head into the end and try and find an end city so that we can get an elytra. The first end city I found unfortunately didn't have a ship, and that's the only way to get an elytra, but I went into it anyway so that I could get some shulker shells and check out the loot. Later I saw another end city, well, a group of them, and there were a couple ships. So I went into the closest one and started working my way up. There's this area that you can try and float over to the ship, and I really thought I was going to be able to make it, but unfortunately I came up a little short. Luckily I wasn't right over the void, so I could just pillar my way up into the ship after that. There was some decent loot in the chest, nothing too great, but then I made a shulker box so I could store all my junk in it, and then I grabbed the elytra and went back out to the ship so I could get the dragon's head. I decided to fly over to the other end city that I could see a ship at because I wanted to grab another elytra and maybe get some more shulker shells and see what kind of loot they had in the chests. The loot was pretty decent, and I was able to grab a backup elytra, and then I flew back to the portal. Nailed that landing. Then I headed back through the portal, and then I grabbed the dragon's egg. And now it's time to head back home. I went back to the library in the fortress because I wanted to get all the books. And then I built a nether portal because traveling through the nether is much quicker than traveling in the overworld. And I just ran directly back to the coordinates of where my main portal was, and I was back home. On day 55, I wanted to make a courtyard for my villagers, and so I built a wall and a little bit of a courtyard so that they'd be safe and they could go outside. I set up their bell in the courtyard so that that's where they would have their meeting after work. I hadn't brought Turtle back to the base because I didn't know that I could use beetroot seeds the same way that I could use wheat seeds, but I tested it out and it worked, so I got Turtle to follow me back, and I got Turtle safely in the gate. I had all these levels I'd got from the dragon fight, so I went up to the enchantment table, because the one thing I really needed was a good sword. And unfortunately, the RNG wasn't with me, and I kept having to reset my sword and try again. Another chicken jockey spawned in my mob grinder, so I rescued the chicken from the zombie. And this is pretty good because now Turtle can have another chicken as its friend, and they can maybe make some more chickens. Had to also give the new chicken a name tag so that it wouldn't despawn, but I think I chose a pretty good name. I gave them some beetroot seeds so they could make a little baby chicken. Isn't it cute? Look at the little baby chicken. I had a whole lot of swords that I needed to combine, because if I combined them all, I'd have basically a perfect sword. But I didn't have enough levels to get everything combined, so I had to go spend some time up at the mob farm. And then before I left, I decided to fly back down with my elytra because I haven't had much of a chance to fly around yet. Hey, Turtle. Hey, not Turtle. Hey, you're new. Who are you? I was going to need a whole lot of gunpowder, so I spent the next little while just going back and forth from my mob grinder back down to the base. I had to keep going to the base in case the wandering trader showed up. I brought an egg up to the mob grinder and hatched a chicken so that I'd have some company while I was AFKing the mob grinder. I enchanted a golden helmet so I'd have a little bit of more protection when I was in the nether. I put mending onto my elytra, and then I got efficiency 5 on my pickaxe and power 5 on my bow. I also put mending on my shield so I wouldn't have to keep making new ones. On day 63 I saw a cat, so I chased it around until I could tame it, and then I brought it back to the base. Hey cat! I decided it was time to go back to that treasure bastion and raid the treasure room because I'd get a guaranteed netherite template from that, so I drank a fire res potion and hopped into the lava. The first thing I had to do was take out the magma cube spawner, and then I dealt with the piglin brutes that were around me. Once I felt safe, I went and checked out the chest, but I thought I heard something and got paranoid, but I was just hearing things. So I went back into the chest and I got a couple pieces of ancient debris, and both chests had a netherite template, so that's pretty good. There was a whole bunch of gold blocks, so I got them, and then I just mined my way out of the bastion. I made some weather breathing potions so that I'd be able to go underneath the ice and mine for some sand, because I needed some sand to make TNT. I went back up to my mob farm so I could grab all the gunpowder I had up there. I had almost a shulker box full, and that was enough to make 4 stacks of TNT. I planted some warped fungus trees around the base, and then I saw another cat, so I tamed it and I brought it back so it could hang out with my villagers. I went back to the nether so I could set up a tunnel to use my TNT and mine for some ancient debris. As far as I know, currently the best Y level is Y level 17 to mine for ancient debris. Those lines on the side of the screen, that's showing the chunk borders, because supposedly it's easier to find ancient debris if you mine along the chunk borders. I was able to get 32 pieces of ancient debris before I ran out of TNT. I only had enough diamonds to make 7 templates, and I had to save one of them in case I wanted to make templates anytime in the future. So I took 6 of the pieces of netherite so that I could make a full netherite armor, and then I could put netherite also on my sword and netherite on my pickaxe. I guess we can check that off the goals also. I still had 2 pieces of netherite left over, but I didn't have the templates to use them, and I also wanted to make some armor trim on my armor, so I went down to the mines so that I could mine some diamonds, and then I'd be able to duplicate the armor trim templates. I ended up with 34 diamonds after that. I put netherite on my axe and also on my shovel. I duplicated the snout armor trim, and I decided to use diamonds as the accent because I think that looks the best out of all the options. Then I ran around like a fool for a little while. I built a storage shed because my chests were getting overloaded inside the igloo. I tamed a ginger cat and then brought it back to my base, and it made a kitten with my Siamese cat. Now it was time to go back to the Nether so I can get some wither skulls.
"75 years later." One eternity later.
That was literally the longest it's ever taken me to get 3 wither skulls. It was over 150 withers, and I have looting 3 on my sword. Not only that, it was a bad fortress, so the spawn rate was low. I had to make 2 resupply trips back to my base. I didn't show that in the montage, but there were 2 resupply trips. Anyway, enough complaining. Now it's time to fight the wither. I fight the wither in a tunnel down at like Y level 59, as low as you can go. There's another way you can fight him in the end, but that takes a lot of preparation. And if you just dig a tunnel, you rarely even get hit by him. Also on Java, the wither is much easier than on Bedrock. Alright, I guess that's that. That's the last thing I needed to cross off of my list of goals. I mean, I still have a lot of stuff I want to accomplish with the rest of this 100 days, but my 3 main goals, I guess I consider them completed at this point. I had the beacon now, but I didn't have anywhere near enough blocks to actually build the beacon, so I had to head down to the mines. I used some night vision to make it easier to see. There was a zombie spawner, but there wasn't really anything in the chests except for I got a new bucket out of it. Night vision combined with Fortune 3 on my pick made it real easy to get a whole bunch of iron. I had a few stacks before I even knew it. But then my night vision potions ran out and I was in the middle of the dark with a lot of mobs all around me. I had lots of ore that needed to be smelted, so I made some blast furnaces. I'm surprised I hadn't made any yet, but it smelts the ore a whole lot quicker than just smelting it in a normal furnace. But then I realized I wasn't even going to have enough blocks to make a 3-stack beacon, so I had to go back down to the mines. Check out all these mobs. This one creeper right here takes them all out. I got a few more stacks of iron from that, and that should be enough for a 3-tier pyramid. I'd like to make a full beacon, but I might not be able to do that in this 100 days. I made a little pumpkin farm because I wanted to make some jack-o'-lanterns and make a snow golem so he'd throw snowballs. There was a thunderstorm going on day 91, so mobs were spawning even though it was the daytime. But I went ahead and built my beacon. Unfortunately, I couldn't use the same block, but I was able to get a 3-tier beacon with mixing the blocks together. And I decided to choose jump boost for my enhancement. I had another pumpkin ready, so I went over there to harvest it. As I was leaving, there was a baby zombie villager riding a chicken, and that's super rare. I don't think I've ever even seen that in all my years of Minecraft. I wanted to try to see what would happen if I cured the zombie villager while he was still on a chicken, so I set up a roof over him because it was still daytime even though it was a thunderstorm. And then I went and got the splash potion of weakness. I was worried that he had despawned, but luckily he hadn't, so I gave him a splash potion of weakness and a golden apple, and then I started waiting for him to de-zombify. Nighttime was coming though, so I built some walls because I didn't want a creeper to come and blow us both up. I didn't really expect that the villager would stay on the chicken even after he wasn't a zombie anymore, but that's what happened. I went to sleep for the night because I didn't want mobs to attack my villager on the way back to the base. The next day I brought the chicken villager back to the base and I I smashed through the wall and I got him safely inside. It was funny watching him ride the chicken around. I'm not sure who had control of the movement or if it was a mixture of both. I made a name tag for the chicken because I was worried that he was going to despawn. So I got a name tag and I named him Subscribe. Hey, Subscribe. I remembered about that slime chunk from so many days before, so I went back down to the mine shaft to try and find a slime. I wanted to make some leads, and the only way to get that is from a slime or from a wandering trader. There's a slime right there. Hey buddy, hey little guy, aren't you cute? Sorry. I wanted to make a new house for my chicken villager, but I had to specially design it because he's too tall to fit through normal doors, and I didn't want him to get damaged. I made a little carrot farm in there because I thought he'd like to be a farmer. That wasn't necessarily the best idea. You'll see a little later why that wasn't a great idea. But I gave him a bed in there, and it's kind of funny because he can't sleep, but he'll still sit on his bed all night like he is sleeping. I got the chicken villager's house done and decided to take some selfies with him and the chicken. The chicken's name's Subscribe, but I still don't have a name for the villager, so if you have any ideas for a name for him, let me know in the comments below. I had my back turned, but I turned around just in time to see the villager took damage somehow from his composter. I'm not sure exactly the mechanics of why that was happening, but he was taking damage from it, so I had to take the composter out. Then I saw another cat, so obviously I had to go and tame the cat. I brought him into the chicken villager's house so that he could have some company. I made up some splash health potions so that I'd be able to heal the villager easily in case he took more damage. On day 96, I put up some glass walls to the villager's house and took some more selfies with him. I started to wonder if maybe there was something about the ice around my base that was keeping the wandering trader from spawning, because it'd been 97 days and there hadn't been a wandering trader at all. So I put some deep slate down around the base and thought that maybe that could give him a little bit more of a room to spawn on. So I spent a couple days doing that, using all the deep slate I had to make like a little pathway that went all around the base. I still had a little bit of paper that I'd been saving left over from the stronghold, and since it was getting near the end of the 100 days, I decided to just use it for rockets. I made them flight duration 3 though, so that they would last a little longer. I'd made it this whole time without a proper farm, so on day 98 I put together a potato and carrot farm. And then on day 99, I wanted to redesign how my nether portal looked because it was kind of ugly. Okay, there it is. We officially made it to day 100. So thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and stay tuned. We got more stuff coming soon.